Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. This should be my Facebook Live, but at the moment we have no internet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to video the card that I would have made today, and I'll pop it on YouTube and I'll pop it onto my Facebook as well. So what we're making is from a request. I had a couple of people ask me if I could make some more masculine cards. I made a couple, like the big square card, using this beautiful gallery 6x6 paper. And so a couple of people just wanted me to make something masculine that didn't look too fancy, and that used a 6x6 paper without wasting too much of it. So I got the little packet back out, and what I'm going to make is this really easy easel card. It's like a little step easel card, and if you look back on my videos, I think I last made this about 2022, 2023, something like that, and I made it with those framed florets. I didn't have an image on the front. I had like an oval with some flowers and a sentiment. So I thought we'd make this one today. Pop that out of the way. If you do want to craft with me, you're going to need some designer series paper, and I had 2 of the 6x6 pieces. I didn't use all of it, but you need to have 2 different designs. So I chose one that had like a picture on and one that would work as a background. Okay, for the base I've got Secret Sea, and you need a piece that's 5.5 by 8, scored at 1, 2 and 5 inches. And then you need a separate piece, 3 by 6, scored at 4.25, and that becomes this little piece that makes the easel. And as you can see, it doesn't go all the way down at the back, and it's not meant to. And then my white, I haven't cut this yet, but my white needs to be 5.25 by 2.75, and you need a little scrap for the sentiment. So I've got just a little die cut, or you could use pre-printed ephemera. Okay, so let's cut first. I could have videoed my Facebook Live, but I couldn't have watched it at the same time because my phone doesn't have a big enough data plan that I can do that. I could have videoed with my phone, but if I can't see it, I don't know it's working. So I'm not sure what's going on. Okay, so this is 5.5 by 8. I'll just check, yep. And we're going to score it on the long side at 1 inch. I'll pop that. Let's pop that there so you can see it. And you can see what I'm scoring. So 1, 2 inches and 5 inches. If you have the big scoring tool, you can score on that as well. Okay, oh, and then let's score our other little piece. I have actually done this one. This is the 3 by 6, and I've scored it at 4.25. So I've just scored it here. And that's all the scoring, but it's not all of the cutting. So let's do our cutting pieces. I need the white to be 5.25 by 2.75. So let's chop off a piece that's 2.75 and 5.25. Let's cut this down. Oh, it's got a little mark at that end. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make that the piece that I chop off. So 5.25. Okay, pop those there. And then we need our DSP. And I'm going to use the same pattern that I used on here, this same piece. But I'm going to change up the background, I think. I think I'm going to put this one on the background instead. I do have another piece of that, but I think I'm just going to make it different. So let's find the DSP. I move along a little bit and pop that there. So we need most of our pieces to measure 5.25. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take 3/4 of an inch off the bottom. It just makes it a bit easier for me. So one of these 5 1/4 I could just trim. This is 3/4 of an inch, so I could just trim it, but I'm going to make this one first. So I need it to be 5 1/4 by 2 3/4. Okay, and then you'll see why I didn't use this piece. It's because it's going the other way. When I use this, I could use this piece, but because the pattern is a one-way pattern, I can't use that this time. So I'm just going to trim off a 3/4 inch piece. I will use that other little piece, and I think I might put it on my envelope. So this one where the pattern goes the wrong way, if I just reach my envelope, it would go nicely across the bottom like this. Or I could use it inside, whatever. Okay, and then the image. So the image I'm using is going to be this one, and I need to cut it down so that it's 4 inches by 2 3/4. And what I did was I looked to see which part of the pattern I was going to have. And actually, I want this insert here where it's got the little houses and the little boat. So to make it work for me, I'm going to take a 1 inch strip from this side. So I'm just going to turn it round and take that 1 inch strip off. And I might use that on the inside, or I could use it on the envelope. There's always sort of little bits left that you can use for your envelopes. Okay, so now I'm just going to cut it so that it's 4 inches in length and 2 3/4 wide. I'm going to do the 2 3/4 first, because then I can sort of gauge what part I want to put on. On here, you can see I went right from the bottom. But if you wanted to have more sky, then you could trim a little bit off the bottom and have more sky. So let me just show you. I'm going to take off maybe 1/2 inch. And then let's make this 4 inches. And can you see I've got more of the sky part? And if I wanted, I could use something like one of the seagulls kind of stamps and stamp some little birds in the air, or draw them with a marker if I wanted to. I'd just get a little bit more sky. And then you'll notice on this one that I've got a little backing layer. You can add a little backing layer. That was a little piece that I have left of the designer series paper. And then I trimmed this by an extra 1/8 of an inch all the way around. But I don't know if I'm going to do that yet. I want to build up the base first. So let's move all of these little scraps. These are the ones we need, so I'll pop those over here. And these ones are to make the base with. Let's move that one. Okay, so find where your folds are. You need the bigger spaces of card to start at the left-hand side, and these narrower pieces on the right-hand side. And then I'm just going to turn it 90 degrees, and this is going to be the front. So it's going to be here. So I suppose really it's going to be the back, but it's going to be the front of the way I'm folding. Okay, so I'm just going to go down like that, and then I turn it around. So now I know I've got the back. Here's this piece. And so we just need to make this little step piece. And all you do is fold it up and down. And that's just the quickest way to do it. So if I show you again, I move it so that the first of the wider strips is looking at me. Okay, and I fold this piece down. Then I turn it round and I go to the first of the score lines and I fold that up, and then I just fold this down on itself. And that gives you this kind of shape. It's like an M, but this part isn't as long as this, but it's kind of an M. Or some people will say it's a W. I suppose if we hold it that way, it's like a W as well. Okay, and I'm going to burnish it because I want this to sit quite nice and stay in one place. Okay. And then before we start and do the front, I'm going to put the Designer Series papers on and my white inside. So this little piece of white, we know this is the front. So I'm going to fold it back and pop that just on the inside. So let's find some tape. Now you'll be happy to know that my liquid glue is out for delivery today. So next time you see me, I'm hoping that I've got a full pot of liquid glue. I've been using the little bit that I had really sparingly, but it's on its way. Okay, so I'm going to close that up. Now this piece, let's find our Designer Series paper. I made it so that the pattern went this way because I felt that if it was this way, it looked a bit more floral. If you have it so that it's going that way, it's more of just a pattern. And that's going to go on here. So let's find the tape again. There are some beautiful pieces in this Designer Series paper, but sometimes with a 6x6 piece, I feel like I waste some. I don't cut it as well as a 12x12. So I'm really trying to be a little bit more careful about the paper. Okay, then that 3/4 of an inch strip is going to go across the front. Now I'd made this before as a birthday card, but no, you could make it an anniversary card. You could even make it a sympathy card because it's just so beautiful and it's such a serene picture. You know, it's got lots of different occasions that you could use it for. Okay, I'm just going to burnish those again. Okay, right. Now let's have a look at our front easel part. So you can see here's my score line and the smaller piece is at the top, and I'm just going to fold it backwards. So this becomes our easel part. Now let's find our picture. On here, it gives you that 1/4 of an inch gap that goes all the way around. And I'm just looking to see if that's what I envisage it like, or if I want to do a layer. See, because on this one, I did just that extra little layer. I think I might do another little layer. So I'm going to have a look for the cloud cover, not clover. And I'm just going to cut a piece. So let's go back to what we needed for the image. So I need to cut a background piece of 4 by 2 3/4. I'm just going to see if any of these are 2 3/4. Probably not. Oh, that's 3. Oh, it's already scored. I don't want that. That's going to be a bit too small. Let's take this piece. So 4 and 2 3/4. See if it's 4 across. It is. So if I just trim this down, 2 3/4 by 4. Yeah. Okay. And so it's now the same size as my Designer Series paper. And I want it just to have a little border, I think, just like that, not a full border. So I'm going to just take sort of 1/8 of an inch off one of the sides. I'm going to take it off this side. No, I think I might take it off that side actually. So rather than take a full 1/4, I'm just going to take 1/8 and I'm going to chop a little bit off. Let's see if I can take it off the bottom or the top. I think I'm going to take it off the top. So again, just 1/8 of an inch. just so that it stands out a little bit, but it hasn't got such a wide border. Okay, let's get rid of those. Okay, so now this will go onto here. Oops, go onto here. And can you see how it just gives you that tiny border? I think I need to change the blade because it's starting to be just a little bit raggy. So I'll change the blade, I think, next. Let's pop this on here. Just that little border is enough just to give it a bit extra. And then I'm going to attach it to the front here. See that my adhesive tape is nearly at the end. Can you see that little orange piece coming up? That means the end of the roll. So be a little bit more judicious for the last little bits. Okay. And then let's attach that to the front of our card. You can choose whereabouts you want to have this. You know, you can put it at the side. Make sure that you've got it level with the bottom of the card. But you can put it at the side if you want to have sort of a larger space for your sentiment. You can put it right in the middle like I did with this one. And then, you know, your sentiment can still go on there. You can have it, you know, a little bit more to the right. This time, I think I'm going to put it a little bit more to the left, like this. And what you do is you just attach this bottom piece. And we know that that's 1 inch deep from when we did our scoring. So I'm only going to put glue on the very bottom here. I'm going to turn it over and just put some glue at the very bottom. And I'm going to use my very precious liquid glue. Okay, so I'm not going any higher than 1 inch. I didn't even go much past half 1 inch, really. Okay, then close down this card. And we're going to hold this. Make sure the bottom of your flap here goes on the very bottom of your card. I'm just going to leave sort of 1 inch at this side. And I'm just going to hold that till it dries. It'll take a second or two extra because it's wet glue. Okay. Right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn the whole thing round and fold this piece down. And can you see there's only about a half 1 inch. Let me just put a little piece of card underneath it so you can see. There's only about a half inch of this flap that actually gets glued down. So you could use like a tear and tape if you wanted something narrower, or I'm just going to use my liquid glue again. And I'm not going to put much on. I'm not going to put any on if it doesn't come out quickly. Oh, I feel like it's going to come out in a big lump in a minute. I don't want to squeeze it too much. Oh, just like that. Okay. I knew it was going to come out like that. Okay, then we're just going to fold that over. Press it down. I've got a little bit extra glue there. Let me just get my glue, just that little eraser to take that sticky bit off. There we go. Okay. So there is your mechanism all finished. Really quick, really easy. Now, if you want to put some designer series paper that you've got left over on the inside, I'm just going to get this piece. This is like the matching piece from here. I'm just going to cut a little piece of it. And what did I need? I think that white, yeah, that white is 2 3/4. So I'm just going to trim this down. But you could use, you know, the little piece that we popped off the bottom. You could put that on as well. I want to have a little bit of sky and a few trees. So I'm just not really thinking about where the pattern is, just quickly taking a piece off. There we go. This would make quite a nice Father's Day card as well, actually. I know that's not until June, but for those of you who start prepping early on. Okay, so there we go. Sometimes what I've done, if I've had designer series paper left, is I've put a piece on the back. This one isn't quite big enough, but I've put a piece on the back so it covers over that mechanism as well. So if you wanted to do that, you certainly could. Okay, but let's sort out a sentiment. Now, I've got a little die cut that I made. That's with that postage stamp set of dies. And I have got a pre-printed sentiment, if I want that. And I cut a couple of these out in Secret C for a different project that I was making. Let's just see if I've got it on my desk. No, I haven't. I don't think. No. But I'd cut those out already for a different project. But here are the dies. They're the ones that go with the gallery blooms. It's that piece. I thought I still had the card that I'd made, but I didn't. So it's not like a florally, flowery. It's just a little leaf. And I thought that might be quite nice. Just at the side here. And then with our sentiment on as well, like this. If you didn't want to make a use a sentiment like this or make a sentiment, what you can do, you can stamp. Some people will have those, I don't quite know what they call them, they're like a sticker that I've got maybe a happy birthday already pre-printed or something. That would work perfectly as well. Or a little piece from a scrapbooking sticker. But I'm going to just see, I'm just going to do a different one. I think I'm just going to do a happy birthday. And so I've got some other ones here. I wonder if, let me see how long the happy birthday is. Might be a little bit too long. It's too long for my little stamped piece here. It would go on there, but the card is a little bit long. So all I'm going to do, I'm just going to find a little piece that I've cut off a card, and I'm going to stamp on that. And although this is quite florally, it's from the Lovely Arrangements. I like this uppercase happy birthday. I've used it a couple of times on cards this past few weeks, and I do like how it stamps. It's really easy to see. You know, it's not flowery or anything. It's a really nice crisp image. So I'm just going to stamp it on here near to the bottom, because I know that I will have to trim it down because it's a little bit, the card is a little bit wide for what I want. Okay, so I'm going to find my long scissors as well as my short scissors. I'm just going to do a little piece like this. I'm going to cut it straight near the edge. Let's move those out of the way. And then I'm just going to run along the top with my longer scissors. Oh, I'm going to trim that down a little bit actually. There we go. There, that's better. And I'm going to cut a little bit of my Secret C card. Let's see if I've got a little scrap of it in here. I might have. Let's use this. So I'm just going to attach it onto here. Let's see if we can risk that glue again. There we go. And pop it on here just with a little tiny border. I don't need a wide border on it. And then I'm just going to go across. Cut. Just going to cut it, that big piece off. then I'm just going to trim. There we go. And I'm going to have it on here. I'm going to put it on dimensionals and have this little piece just here. So I'll pop this one on with a glue dot, I think. Just so I know it's in the place that I want it to be. I don't want it on an angle. There we go. And then this one, I'm going to put a little bit of glue at that end and a dimensional at this end. So excuse me. Pop that there. Let's see. Oh no, I'll have to put a dimensional at both ends, but that's okay. Okay, now if you wanted to put some gems on and things, let's see, these ones, the Moody Palette Glossy Dots, they have like a darker one, or the cloud cover that you might want to use. You might want to just pop a couple on. But for me, that I'm happy with it like this. Stands up really easily. Let me stand it like that so you can see. I need to just decorate my envelope, and I think I'm going to use this little piece of paper that I had left. So let's pop that on. I'm going to put glue on the envelope instead, so I can get right up to the edge. And I know this runs the other way, but I think on the envelope it doesn't matter. And it uses up that scrap that we had. Let's trim that down. And there we are. That's a really quick and easy little easel card. Now, the other images in the package, if you decided you wanted to use something different, I'm just moving these out of the way. One of the ones that I looked at as well was this little house. And I thought that would make a nice easel card on Mossy Meadow. Not on this piece of card, but see how that goes nicely on Mossy Meadow? Or I liked it too on the Early Espresso. Because when you look at where you're going to be cutting, I would cut it across here and have sort of the house and a little bit of the path. And that would give you some of the brown that you could pick up on the Early Espresso. And then I do have another card that I'm going to make, and it will use this paper again. So I will video that and pop it on my channel as well. But thank you for your patience while I didn't have internet today. And I hope you give that nice easy little card a go. So thanks for joining me, and thank you as always for your support. I really do appreciate it. Take care everybody. Bye bye.